It started as a lie. The hallway buzzed with chatter, sneakers squeaking against polished tiles, laughter echoing like sharp whispers. Alina walked through it all with her head lowered, clutching her books like a fragile shield. She was used to the whispers, those quiet, cruel words that always seemed to follow her. Weirdo. Too quiet. Probably into girls. She didn't know which hurt more, their guessing or the way it always felt true. That morning, though, something shifted. Just as a group of boys started snickering again, a confident voice sliced through the noise. "Hey, babe. You're late." Alina froze. Then she felt it, the warmth of an arm slipping around her shoulders, firm yet gentle. It was Maya. The Maya everyone admired. The girl who laughed too loudly, who dared too much, who carried confidence like perfume. Alina's heart stumbled in confusion as Maya gave the boys a glare that could freeze fire. "Got a problem?" she asked, her tone so calm it was dangerous. They didn't answer. They just melted away, their cruel amusement replaced by awkward silence. When they were gone, Alina turned to her, eyes wide. "Why did you do that?" she asked softly. Maya just smiled. "Because I could." From that day, it became a strange routine. Whenever the whispers grew louder, Maya would appear, her arm, her smile, her fearless presence turning Alina's trembling into something close to peace. "Let them think what they want," Maya would say. "We'll play along." It was just a pretend act, a shield built from laughter and closeness that didn't have a name. But every time Maya's hand brushed hers, something inside Alina began to bloom, something fragile and forbidden. Weeks passed, and the act no longer felt like pretending. Alina started waiting for Maya between classes, her heart racing at every glimpse of her. Maya, too, seemed softer now, her teasing smiles carrying a warmth that lingered longer than jokes should. They sat under the old oak tree after school, sharing secrets like stolen breaths. Maya talked about how exhausting it was to always be fearless, how people only saw her confidence, but never her loneliness. And in that confession, Alina saw the truth. Maya had saved her not because she could, but because she understood. The lie had become their language. A safe place in a world that didn't know how to be kind. Yet behind every laugh was a question neither dared to ask. What if it isn't a lie anymore? One afternoon, when the sun dipped low and turned everything golden, Maya looked at her for a long, quiet moment and whispered, "Sometimes, pretending shows you what's real." Alina didn't answer. She didn't need to. Her heart already knew. Because what started as a lie now felt like the only truth she wanted to live in. Why does my heart beat faster around her? The night was young, and the city beneath them pulsed with life. From the rooftop, everything looked smaller, cars moved like flickering fireflies, and laughter floated faintly from the streets below. The cool breeze carried the scent of rain and jasmine, brushing strands of hair across her face as she sat beside her best friend. They had come up here countless times before, to talk, to dream, to escape. But tonight, something felt different. The silence between them wasn't empty, it was full of words unspoken, glances stolen, and a heartbeat that refused to calm. She tried to focus on the skyline, on the distant hum of traffic, on anything but the way her pulse raced every time their shoulders brushed. Her friend laughed softly at something she said, a sound so familiar, yet suddenly so intoxicating. That laugh had always made her smile, but tonight it made her heart ache. She wanted to reach out, to tuck that loose strand of hair behind her ear, to say something, anything, that could explain the rush of warmth blooming in her chest. But how could she? How do you tell someone you've known forever that one day, your heart decided to see them differently? She turned her head, almost afraid, and found those same warm eyes looking back. For a moment, neither spoke. The world below seemed to disappear, the air between them heavy with something fragile and real. Neon lights from a nearby billboard painted soft colors on their faces, pink, blue, violet, as if the city itself was blushing for them. Her throat tightened. She could feel the words building inside her, quiet but desperate. Why does my heart beat faster around her? Maybe it was the way she listened, not just to the words, but to the pauses in between. Maybe it was the way she cared, without needing to say it. Or maybe it was the way she looked at her now, steady, gentle, curious, as if she, too, was trying to understand this new silence. For the first time, she didn't look away. She let her eyes linger, tracing every detail she'd seen 1,000 times, but never truly noticed. The curve of her smile, the softness of her voice, the faint freckles catching the city's glow. And in that quiet realization, everything changed. The air felt charged, her heart a drumbeat echoing the truth she could no longer ignore. This wasn't friendship, not anymore. It was something deeper, something she had never dared to name. She exhaled slowly, her voice barely a whisper, trembling but honest. Do you ever feel something you can't explain? Her friend smiled, not confused, not surprised, just softly, knowingly. In that single look, she understood. She wasn't alone in this feeling. The city lights shimmered around them, as if I can't pretend anymore. The rain came suddenly, one of those impulsive downpours that seem to echo what your heart's been holding back for far too long. They ran together, laughing, half-soaked already by the time they found a small shelter under a single umbrella. The world beyond them turned into a watercolor blur, lights melting into puddles, colors bleeding into the wet air, but neither noticed. Because at that moment, the storm outside wasn't nearly as wild as the one between them. Her hand brushed against mine as she adjusted the umbrella, a simple touch that sent every buried feeling crashing to the surface. For months, maybe years, I'd been trying to silence it, the way my pulse quickened around her, the way my world felt painfully dull when she wasn't near. She looked up, strands of wet hair clinging to her cheek, eyes glistening not just from rain but something unspoken. I'd seen that look before, fleetingly, but tonight it felt like it held a question, one I'd been too afraid to answer. The sound of the rain softened everything around us, as if the universe itself was leaning closer to listen. "You're quiet," she said softly, her voice trembling just enough to betray her own storm. I swallowed hard, my throat tight. How could I explain the chaos of loving someone I was never supposed to love? How could I tell her that every time she smiled, I forgot what pretending felt like? "I'm just thinking," I managed, but even that came out as a whisper. She shifted closer, so close I could feel her breath warm against the cold air. "About what?" she asked, and suddenly it felt like there was nowhere left to hide. The distance between us was a breath, a heartbeat, a single truth away. And then it happened. The silence cracked open. "You," I said. The word escaped before I could stop it, fragile yet unstoppable, like a confession written in lightning. Her eyes widened, and for a terrifying second I thought I'd ruined everything. But then she smiled, a small, trembling smile that melted every wall I'd built. "I was hoping you'd say that," she whispered. The umbrella tilted slightly, letting the rain kiss our faces. The city faded, people, noise, time, all dissolved into the rhythm of falling water. Her hand found mine again, this time without hesitation. It felt like breathing for the first time after years underwater. The world didn't end. It began anew, right there under that small circle of shelter, drenched in color and courage. When she leaned in, It wasn't perfect or planned, it was real. A trembling, rain-soaked moment that carried every truth we'd hidden. And as our lips met, I realized love isn't always loud or dramatic. Sometimes, it's just two souls standing in the rain, whispering to the world, "I can't." She kissed me first. The room was quiet, wrapped in a soft golden glow from the fairy lights that clung lazily to the walls. The world outside seemed to hold its breath, as if even the stars leaned in to witness what was about to unfold. I could hear her breathing, steady, but trembling with something unspoken. My heart was beating too fast, too loud, as if it wanted to speak before I did. We had been sitting there for hours, talking about everything and nothing, but every word carried a weight we both pretended not to feel. And then there was that silence, the kind that wasn't empty but full, bursting with the truth neither of us could hide anymore. Her eyes met mine, and in that moment, it felt like time didn't move. I saw everything in her gaze, fear, longing, confusion, and something deeper that mirrored what I had buried for so long. I didn't know if she felt it too, the ache that came from wanting something you weren't sure you could have. But then she smiled, that small, shy, knowing smile that always made my chest tighten. I looked away, afraid that if I kept looking, I'd break. And then she said softly, "Why do you keep running from me?" Her voice was gentle, but it hit me like thunder. Before I could answer, she moved closer, so close I could feel the warmth of her breath. My words tangled on my tongue, every excuse I'd rehearsed crumbling into silence. She reached out, her fingers trembling slightly as they brushed against my cheek. "You make it so hard not to fall for you," she whispered, almost like she was confessing to herself. My breath caught. My heart stopped. And before I could even think, she kissed me. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't wild. It was soft, fragile, but filled with every emotion we had been hiding. Her lips trembled against mine, tasting of courage and fear, of love we had both been too scared to name. My hands found her face, and I kissed her back like I'd been waiting a lifetime for that single heartbeat. The world melted away, no labels, no hesitation, no fear, just us, tangled in the glow of that moment. When she finally pulled back, her forehead rested against mine. Neither of us spoke for a long time. The silence wasn't awkward anymore, it was sacred. I could still feel the echo of her lips, the warmth of her touch, the truth in her eyes. She smiled again, this time without fear, and whispered, "Now you can't pretend anymore." I laughed softly, a tear slipping down my cheek, and whispered back, "I don't want to." That was the night everything changed, the night my best friend kissed me first, and I finally understood what it meant to feel seen, loved, and free all at once. Now she's all I see. The morning sunlight poured gently through the tall glass windows, painting everything it touched in shades of gold and warmth. The air smelled faintly of jasmine and fresh coffee, mingling with the quiet hum of the city below. On the balcony, two women sat close, their hands intertwined, hearts beating in a rhythm only they could hear. No words were needed anymore. Silence had finally become enough. For years, they had fought the world, misunderstood, whispered about, doubted, and yet, here they were, wrapped in the serenity of a morning that belonged entirely to them. Amara glanced sideways, her eyes tracing the soft outline of Noor's face, the curve of her lips, the faint crease of her smile, the golden strands of sunlight caught in her hair. There had been a time when even looking at her like this had felt like a sin. A time when love between them was something to be hidden, suffocated, disguised behind polite friendship and careful distance. But the universe has its way of pushing two souls back together again and again, until even fate gives up trying to keep them apart. Noor felt Amara's gaze and smiled, that small, knowing smile that always melted the walls around her. "What?" she whispered softly, pretending not to know. Amara shook her head, her thumb brushing Noor's hand. "Nothing," she said, voice trembling with love. "Just you." Noor laughed quietly, the kind of laugh that carried peace. It wasn't the passionate fire of the early days, nor the painful ache of missing someone. It was softer, calmer, like coming home after a lifetime of searching. They had built this life together, brick by brick, scar by scar. There had been tears, long nights of doubt, doors slammed in anger, and words left unspoken. Yet, through it all, love had never left the room. It had waited patiently in the quiet corners of their hearts, waiting for this golden morning where everything finally felt right. The city was waking up, children's laughter echoed from nearby streets, birds danced across the sky, and a soft breeze carried the scent of blooming roses. But to Amara, the world felt distant, almost blurred. All she could see was Noor, her calm eyes, her gentle smile, her quiet strength. Every fight, every heartbreak, every moment of fear had led to this stillness, this forever. Noor leaned her head on Amara's shoulder, closing her eyes as sunlight warmed their skin. "Do you ever think," she murmured, "that maybe love was always meant to look like this?" Amara smiled, tears glistening in her lashes. "Maybe love was always meant to look like you." And for a moment, a fleeting, eternal moment, time stood still.